Okay, good evening, everyone. We are on. So I welcome everyone tonight, Thursday, January 21st, 2021. This is our regularly scheduled Board of Selectmen's meeting. I ask that we please get called to order and that we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Doing a slight change tonight. We're going to be discussing a thought to bring up next time additions and changes to the agenda. And I'm going to hand it over to Gail because she's been working on this. You're on mute, Gail.
I don't know what year I'm going to remember to get muted and unmuted. A few of us have been discussing updating the policies and procedures for conducting a meeting for our sake and any future boards. So if we put it on the next agenda, then we all have a chance to think about it and bring our thoughts to the next meeting.
Okay. Peter, did you want to, I know you've talked to Gail and all, did you want to say anything or?
Yeah, I just want to make sure we move to a process that allows us to appropriately anticipate, discuss any items, any additions to the agenda, so we're not surprised and therefore can we act in with having done some research, have good discussion, make decisions that really are in the best interest of our constituents with the time to be able to do so. So I fully support looking at this and thinking about our rules of procedures, getting to make sure we conduct ourselves in a way that allows us to come to conclusions that are really in the best interest of what's been outlined for us in terms of our duties and powers, as well as ultimately what's in the best interest of the town of Hebron. So I appreciate the work you're doing, Gail, and the discussion on this. So I fully support what's happening in this regard. Thanks.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, hearing none, this will be a topic that we'll be discussing at our next meeting. I'm afraid I don't have that date. Actually, I do. It'll be February, I believe, 4th.
February
So,
4th, Dan. Yeah.
Again, if we can get our thoughts together and then get them in so that we have a good chance to have some good conversation on this topic. Thank you. Moving on, our next thing would be our public comment. Listen for our moderator. Is there anyone out there who has shown a desire to?
No public comment at this time. If anybody does wish to make a public comment, please indicate so in the chat box with your name and public comment. And there is another opportunity. So we have one here. Tanya would like to make a public comment.
Okay, great. Okay.
So just a quick note in regards to the Salmon River, and if you can't hear me, just let me know. In regards to the Salmon River Forest Management a program or recommendation that came in from DEEP, I just wanted to say thank you very much for having the conversation here. I'm a user of that forest pretty regularly, have been since I have been in town for north of 17 years. And Andy Turney, thank you for sending a letter to the DEP regarding keeping the access point open at the end of Grayville Road. So I just wanted to say thank you for having the conversation and appreciate the support to keep that access point open.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, hearing none, moving on. Our next would be our good to know. Andy?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I'd like to recognize Daniel Greenwood. He's here with us tonight. We have a little presentation here. Mr. Greenwood is Hebron's, if you don't know him, he was Hebron's resident trooper for 8+ years and is recently going to retire. So on behalf of the Board of Selectmen from the town of Hebron, we have a little bit of a token of appreciation. It's a plaque with a clock, and it reads, Town of Hebron, a testimony of sincere appreciation presented to TFC Trooper First Class Daniel Greenwood for your years of dedicated service as a resident state trooper dated January 31st, 2021 is when that'll take effect. But this is the meeting just prior to that date, so we felt it appropriate to do it tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Did you want to say anything or?
Whether I want to or not, apparently I'm going to have to.
Of course.
I really appreciate the time I've had. It was interesting because I grew up unofficially in the town of Hebron. One of my best friends lived over on Basket Shop while I was in elementary school. So I was here almost every weekend for my whole childhood, and then to come back full circle and have my professional career here for going on almost actually 9.5 years now. And then be able to retire out of here. I really appreciate it. I've worked well with everyone. I had great times getting to know everyone and working through everything. And just, it's been a great town to work for. So truly appreciate it.
Well, we've been truly blessed to have you. And I pity the next person that has to follow in your shoes, because that person's going to have a large set of shoes to fill. You've been fantastic. I haven't gotten to know you as well as I have other troopers when I used to work for the town, but for what I do know and all, you've been fantastic, and we're going to definitely miss you. Not sure what you're planning on doing in your next career, but always welcome here in Hebron.
I appreciate that. Taking a break for right now. I've been fortunate enough to be able to take a small break and see how that works. So hopefully until after the end of the summer, then I'll see what I have to do.
You'll be bored. You come back.
I will, but we're going cross country with the family. So that's the summer goal.
That'll be fun. That'll be fun. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, if none of the other selectmen were prepared to speak, I'd like to say a few words.
Yes, please.
So I worked with Dan the whole time that he was here, and he did a good job. We had a lot of, it's a busy town. Sometimes it doesn't look like it, maybe the statistics that come through in the monthly reports from the troop, but the day-to-day operations of dealing with interacting with the public is vast and very, very busy. So Dan did the best he could to try to keep up with that and get back to people on many issues that were never really reported. But for a small town of Hebron that seems to be low in crime, which we appreciate, it's still very busy with interaction with a lot of the residents. So I want to thank him for working with my office and working with the Hebron police officers in the way that he did, and wish him well on his retirement.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Thank you very, very much. Okay, I guess moving on, appointments and resignations. We have our Conservation Commission appointment. I don't have that. Attached is an email from Dan Shermet requesting being removed from the alternate to a regular member on the Conservation Commission. So I will make a motion, and then if someone wants to speak or whatever, move that the Hebron Board of Selectmen appoint Dan Sherritt as a regular member of the Conservation Commission to a term to run until December 2024. Any comments on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor? Do a roll call. Peter?
Peter Casper, aye.
Gail Richmond? Your Mike?
Gail Richmond, I.
John Collins?
John Collins, aye.
And I don't see,
Mark.
Mark, thank you. Mind is a terrible thing. So myself, aye, motion carries. Thank you. Our next is an email from Ann Zitkus requesting appointment to the Conservation Commission. And I know that we do have her here. I'll read the motion, and then if she would like to say anything, that would be great. Move that the Hebron Board of Selectmen appoint Ann Zitkus as an alternate member of the Conservation Commission to a term to run until December 2023. Ann, I know I saw you here. There you are.
Hello. Yes, I really appreciate your considering me for appointment to the Conservation Commission as an alternate. I had been on the Parks and Recreation Commission, and it was a very exciting times. A lot was going on with the passive recreation, the active recreation. Got the airline trail was starting at that time, and we got Burnt Hill Park to get going. So it really, when I think about it, it was one of the very exciting times. So I'd be really interested in getting back to working to hopefully doing a good job serving on the Conservation Commission.
Okay. Hearing that, anyone else? Hearing none. Again, we'll do it different. Gail,
Gail Richmond, I.
John,
John Collins, aye.
Peter,
Peter Casper, aye.
and myself, Dan Larson, aye. Thank you very, very much,
Thank you.
everybody who is, offering to serve and help us. So thank you very much. Okay, our next would be Douglas Library Board of Trustees appointment. Gail, you want to do this one?
Sure. Move that the Hebron Board of Selectmen appoint Patricia Ayers to the Douglas Library Board of Trustees to a term to run until December 2024. Pat attended our last Board of Trustees meeting, and I've had several conversations with her in the last year or so, and she's been interested in the library. So I think she will be a good addition to the Board of Trustees.
Okay, great. Is Patricia here or no?
No, she wasn't able
Okay.
to be here. She's awaiting her COVID test results.
Ah. Okay,
Yeah.
well, okay, Peter,
Peter Casper, aye.
Gail,
Gail Richmond, aye.
John,
John Collins, aye.
myself, Dan Larson, aye. Again, thank you, people. Our next one is the Commission on Aging. And we have a motion that, I don't know, Gail, this is your area also.
Yes, I've been the liaison to the Commission on Aging for a few years now. Move that the Hebron Board of Selectmen appoint Tanya Mora as an alternate member of the Commission on Aging for a term to run until December 2024. We just recently had a Commission on Aging meeting, and Tanya was on it, and she was taking part in what was occurring. So I think we're going to have another good addition.
Great, and I know there she is. They keep
Yeah.
moving everything around on me.
Have to keep you awake, Dan.
Yeah. So do you want to say anything, Tanya?
I would love to. Thank you for hearing the motion and also considering me for the position as an alternate for the Commission on Aging. I'm very much involved with my mom, who does have Alzheimer's. She's next door. In walking that journey, I've become more and more interested in, I'll say, our older population here in town, and would love to be able to also give back to the community. And I think this is one way I'd be able to do it. So I appreciate the consideration.
Thank you. Okay, again, going down, Gail,
Gail Richmond, I.
John,
John Collins, aye.
Peter,
Peter Casper, aye.
and myself, Dan Larson, aye. Thank you again. Thank you. We have fire police appointments.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
thank you. If you could recognize me, we had a late addition to this list from the chief as late as this afternoon. If the board will entertain adding a name, it's somebody that has been doing it. We weren't sure if that person was going to continue, but the chief got back to us late this afternoon.
okay.
Said that person wants to remain. Her name is Michelle Barrett.
Oh, okay. Well, make the motion. Okay, so it's not on there. Okay. Move the Hebron Board of Selectmen reappoint the following individuals as Hebron Fire Police. Michelle Barrett, who is not listed, Douglas Barton II, Gladys Bryant, Robert Chica, Deborah Horton, and Walter Norris, all for a term to run through January 31st, 2023. And the way that things are stacking up, Peter's first this time.
Peter Casper, aye.
And then Gail,
Gail Richmond, I.
John,
John Collins, aye.
and myself, Dan Larson, I. Okay. Town managers report. You're on mute.
Okay, under the correspondence that went out in the packet, you see where the town clerk, we have received the grant from the Connecticut State Library to the town clerk, Carla Pompowitz. And that grant is in the amount of $5,500, which was awarded to the town once again. So I just wanted to point that out. So once again, under the town manager's report, we've been very busy with this COVID-19 and who's available to get the shots. There was a little bit of a confusion from the state, and then the governor stepped in, so the names of the people that were eligible changed. So there's been some confusion, and some information has come out from the health district, the state, now the governor, that contradicts itself. So I think they finally got it squared away, but unfortunately during that process, some people in other municipalities and positions got shots, and some people in our towns in the same position didn't. So we're trying to get that straightened out. We're also at the health district working to try to help seniors that don't have internet or email to assist them and come up with a way where we can possibly help them register. So that's been quite a bit of our time. The fire department, the EMT process, the department is doing testing. So they should move to interviews most likely next week. That was reported to me by the chief. Also at the fire department, the daytime maintainers interviews, those also probably take part next week. We are going to start negotiations with 2 union contracts. We've been notified, and we've compiled a bunch of information that goes along with doing that and has sent that off. So we'll be starting to set up some dates to start that process. That would be the public works and the clerical at this time. I have some good news to report budgetary wise. is we had our health insurance consortium meeting today, and we have some numbers that we're looking to move forward with, and anything, hopefully, they're pretty good now, but we could get better, hopefully. But the number we're looking to use is a 3.2 for an increase. I don't know how many selectmen were around in the days before we were self-insured. We were looking at 11, 12, 13% increases in that area, which is a lot of money. So that's down a little bit from last year. So we're trying to give the towns a little bit of a break. We'll continue to keep you posted on that as we move forward. You'll see later in your packet that the Chatham Health District is looking for some funds to help them with this COVID stuff that wasn't covered under DPH. The funds that they'll be looking for was supplied to the towns or the member towns through the COVID relief grant. It would mostly be for staffing and overtime. So it comes from the municipal coronavirus relief fund. They're looking for 20% of that grant. I've talked to Elaine about that, and we feel it's appropriate for all the work and contract tracing that they've had to do for the towns, the schools. They really have been bogged down and overloaded. So we really need to support our health district during this pandemic. So I'm going to promote that get approved. And once again, that funding would come from the grant that was issued to the municipalities that would allow us to use that money for that purpose. That's in the packet. So that took a lot of work, especially being the chairman of the Chatham Health District. So we've been working on that with all the other towns to make sure that we're going to try to align everybody to do the same thing. Unfortunately, we had to make the decision this week to cancel Maple Fest for this year. And hopefully it's just a postponement till next year, but this will be the second year in a row that due to the COVID-19, we cannot have that festival. We continue to work on the budgets with the department heads. They should be in by the first week of February, and we'll be compiling that data and working with them to present a budget. Just as a reminder, I've also been working with the finance director regarding the information for the Board of Finance meeting. It's a mid-year review of the year that we're in. That is January 28th at 6 p.m. And it will be a go-to meeting. We had a COST town meeting. COST is one of those organizations that we belong to. Connecticut Small Town Association. And in that meeting last week, the governor had said that he's going to try to keep the municipalities' fundings whole. That would mean ECS and town aid. So hopefully that's good news, and he holds true with that as we move forward with our budget process. And then last but not least, we were trying to have the audit done by the end of the month, but we just filed for another extension. We're almost there, but it'll probably be early February. So we're still working on that as well. Once that gets out of the way, that'll free up some of the staff in the finance department. And that's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Our next thing would be the update on the COVID-19 long-term recovery, town departments and schools reopening.
Yeah, so the schools, the elementary schools are still seeing cases, but they're continuing to have classes open as much as they can. I kind of gave an update on what the town departments are doing, what we're doing with Chatham Health. Everybody's kind of waiting for their shots. And we made our list, and we're ready to upload it whenever we get permission to do that. But it looks like now it's clearly 75-year-old and older, and then the next phase will be 65 years and older. And then the phase 1B later on would be first responders like town staff, public works, things of that nature. So we've been trying to get that message out there. Town hall is still closed to the public, but we maintain the staff and we deal with the public the best we can. They knock on the door, or we use the drop box, or we We deal with them electronically, so we haven't gotten really too many complaints, and we've considered to get business done. Of course, not as usual, but in a safe manner to keep both the staff and the public safe and healthy.
Is there any way that we can help to nudge the governor or whatever? As I say, as far as I'm concerned, our town personnel, our public works personnel, the people that, keep our communities up and running need to be considered as close to front line as our emergency responders. The services that are provided, public works, whatever, are essential to the community. And I just think it's wrong to have them just keep pushing, these individuals back. Is there, who can we talk to?
Well, I don't disagree with your statements, and I'm sure Kevin Kelly's online. He doesn't either. We had a conversation about that this morning. There's a couple reasons. One, it's a mass undertaking, so the states, I'm not sticking up for them, but they're trying to do the best they can. Two, they don't have as much as the vaccination as they thought they were going to have, so that could be slowing it down a little bit too. But we're in contact with Region 3 coordinator who has the governor's liaisons and sometimes the governor right in there, and he's hearing these concerns loud and clear. So that was kind of a major debacle, and we're trying to work through it and try to get them in there as fast as we can. I don't know what else to say.
Okay, okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other old business? Hearing none, moving forward to new business. I'll read the motion. It looks like there's two. The first is move that the Hebron Board of Selectmen award the bid for the WPCA pump station Phase 1 upgrades to Holzer Electric Company, DBA Holzer Construction from Bridgeport, Connecticut, in the amount of $2,723,880, and authorize Andrew J. Tierney, town manager, to sign any contract documents. Reading over the proposal, everybody's done their due diligence. It sounds, and I don't know if Kevin wants to talk on this or not, or Andy.
I'll go first, and I'm sure Kevin may have to add something, or if people have questions, he could jump in. So being the president of CASHO, that's the Connecticut Association of Street and Highway Officials, I deal with directors and superintendents all over the state of Connecticut. So I reached out to one of my board members in Milford, and this company has done quite a bit of work for Milford, and they were very satisfied with them. They were the low bidder. It was reviewed by Ray Pierce, and then we also have the owner's rep looked at it, environmental partners on behalf of the town as well. So everybody's looked at them. We checked the references, we checked their financials, and they panned out. And there's quite a bit of difference between this low bidder and the next price. So with all that information that we got, I don't know why or how we could not award it to this company.
Andy, can I order two?
Please, Kevin.
Okay, at the last meeting of the WPCA, the authority reviewed all the information of the bids, and they voted to recommend that we move forward with awarding this bid to Holzer Construction as the lowest bidder. Now, I've invited both of our engineering firms to attend tonight, which would be the representative engineers Thurland Montgomery from Wright Pierce, and our owner's rep is Sarah Bucci from Environmental Partners, who will be available to answer any questions that the selectmen might have concerning this.
So I have a question. John Collins. We just had a really successful project, complicated project with the Hebron Elementary School pipe replacement. We had the building committee who did just an incredible job. I was really impressed with their professionalism. They met all the time. And to do that project, it wasn't just the building committee. We had a special committee that the Board of Selectmen appointed that included the Hebron chairman of the Board of Education. The principal showed up every meeting, and the meetings were sometimes 4 times a month. And so there was scrutiny, there was management. And the people on the building committee, I can tell you, have project management experience extraordinary. They did it, like I said, they came in on time, under budget, and they did a fabulous job. Did they participate in this at all? Did they review any of this?
I'll start the answer to that. First of all, this was taken on by the WPCA because it's a separate entity from the town. This got started with clean water funding when we did a study and was paid for by the DEEP that funded us doing the study to figure out that we needed to have this work done. With that said, after that, we had an RFQ to hire a firm that we did an evaluation on, ended up being Wright Pierce. That was the company that won this responsibility, and they took over setting this project up. We've been following them along every step of the way throughout the process. Now, I don't know if that answers your question, John, but the building committee, I worked with them as part of the Public Works project, and they were more a responsibility was setting up the project itself, not carrying the project through. We're at the point now where we're ready to build the project.
You know, I understand. I would just suggest that the Board of Selectmen consider, this is the money that's being used here is taxpayer money from the entire town. It's not coming from the WPCA. It's bond money. And I would encourage the Board of Selectmen to have a special committee to execute this project, because it's 2.7 million. The Hebron elementary school project was only 1.2 million, came in under, and that was a very complicated project. I just think the fact that we have people in town who are extraordinary in their project management skills. Richard Steiner is amazing. We have an architect who has his own firm. What was that guy's name? David Foster was extraordinary. And Mal, of course, Mal has always been very helpful. And I just think it would be great if we could ask them if they wanted to participate and set up a special committee that includes the WPCA members and maybe one board member from the Board of Selectmen to ensure that this is a successful project. That's a suggestion.
I'd like to hear from Sarah, please.
Good evening. I do know that Wright Pierce will be doing their due diligence with checking, and I would also be there on a weekly basis with the meetings with the construction team and following along. As far as an additional committee, I would be available when you would need me to be available for whatever purposes on this project.
Thank you. I personally feel the type of project that this is, excuse me, dealing with sewers, with pump stations, it's really a specialized field. Unlike plumbing, basic plumbing, even as complicated as the school project was. I think this is an entirely different field by itself. But at this point, we are awarding the bid. And so without further ado, does anybody else have any comments?
Well, again, we had a similar, for the Hebron Elementary School project, we had both a consulting firm and a contractor. So, and then we also had a committee that was overseeing both. And let me tell you, early on, it was essential. The committee had no, expertise in plumbing. It was a plumbing project, but what they had was expertise in cost management, in schedule, and in project management. And go ahead. I mean, if you go ahead and do this without them, but I what I saw there, they were good and they were successful. And I just think, we're talking about $2.7 million, which is almost 3 times that project, the Hebron Elementary School project. I just think it would benefit everybody to have more expertise on this, to oversee this project.
John, can I make a comment?
Yes, Kevin, please.
John, I'm going to invite Thurland to make a couple of comments
Okay.
overseeing this project, being the representative from Wright Pierce and being very experienced in this type of project. But before I do that, I would like to say that all of our meetings every month are open to everyone. Whether if you want to have someone from the building committee or the Board of Selectmen sit in on the meetings, feel free. If you want to come to the construction meetings that we'll be having weekly, we'd welcome that too. So it's an open process, so we'd be glad to have you. Erlen, you have something to say to add to this?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Kevin. Yeah, this is Thurman Montgomery from Wright Pierce. How you doing? Yeah, no, I just a few words, I guess, on the construction side of things. We have talked to the town and we've budgeted a construction administration that would be performed by Wright Pierce. We would be working very closely with environmental partners during construction, but as part of the construction administration portion of this, we wouldn't be in charge, obviously be in charge of the contractor's work, but we would be observing the work, doing site inspections and making sure that the work they are doing is in accordance to the design. We mentioned that there's going to be weekly meetings with the contractor. We'll be on site on a weekly basis, but we will be involved with coordinating and reviewing things like submittals, any RFIs, requests for proposals, things like that, as well as reviewing pay requisitions, and providing the questions during the construction phase. So as the engineer that was involved with the design, we would be very much involved with the construction side of things to help make sure that all these we're talking about 8 pump stations here, that the work that's being done on all 8 pump stations is in accordance to the design.
So let me just also say, not only was Fuss and O'Neill in your position, and Fuss and O'Neill was one of the best. They oversaw the contractor, and we had a site manager. But the committee at one point, I'll tell you, last year, we weren't happy with Fuss and O'Neill, and they weren't doing what was needed in committee. Very professionally. I won't say they saved the project, but they were integral in that project being successful. And I guess I just don't see it here. I'm concerned.
Are you concerned with the contractor, or because right now
I'm not concerned. I'm not concerned with the contractor. I'm concerned with the town of Hebron's oversight of this project. I'd just like to see a little bit. I don't know this stuff, but when I saw Richard Steiner, you know, and Mal going through this and the entire committee, the dedication, they made that project successful. We didn't lose our shirt. You know, it was on time. It was important. And it was a much smaller project. This is more complicated. I think we need more people on this committee.
Andy, did you want to say something? You're on mute still.
Yeah, I got a small button there. Sorry about that. I'm not here to dispute what John's saying. I think the WPCA took some measures. We have two. We have Wright Pierce, as Kevin stated, and John alluded to, you know, watch the contractor, make sure it's built to design. But then we also have environmental partners, the owner's rep, to also step in on our behalf. We took an extra step and hired another firm that's one of the largest firms in New England to oversee that process. I have to agree with John about the expertise of the building committee, but I have to agree with you, Dan. I think that's more in building plumbing of structures versus sewer pump stations. Like Kevin's got joint facilities professionals out of East Hampton, and he can come and have look at what's being done. He has a lot of resources available to him. We have some very good people on the WPCA that are retired from the MDC that also know what they're doing. So I would consider them with that type of expertise similar to what the building committee would do. So that's just my 2 cents. So you guys can do what you want. I think you have some real good expertise on pump stations and sewers within the WPCA with the people that worked in that so many years.
Thank you.
Dan?
Just
Dan?
to clarify what I said, I'm not worried about that kind of expertise. I'm worried about project management and cost management.
Then I would like to hear Chris and Jim Riley to speak on this issue.
Okay. Chris or Jim or both, please.
Both.
Go ahead, Chris.
Well, I can only, this is Chris Hamburger from WPCA. I can only just repeat what's already been said. I think we have a lot of oversight. We have Wright Pierce, who will be managing the construction. There are going to be regular meetings to review status, any change requests, work orders, etc. So, I mean, you're welcome to make a subcommittee if you like with some oversight. That's up to you folks. I think frankly, we have it pretty well covered. 2 different firms overseeing what's going on, as well as the WPCA and Kevin Kelly.
Mr. Riley?
I would just like to say that, you know, it's not really apples to apples, it's apples to oranges in my view. The building management, like Dan said, it's mechanicals, plumbing, what have you. Myself and Kevin Grady, we've been in this business for over 30 years each, and we have managed projects that are way more than the $2.7 million and had them come in under budget, on time, and very few change orders. So I think you have that expertise that you're looking for, John. And we're here, and Kevin Kelly or anybody can call us at any time for our opinion on anything. Thurland Montgomery is certainly qualified, and so is Sarah. So there's a lot of insulation there to make sure that this project gets done on time, on budget. And I don't see the need to slow the project down anymore, because we are on a time constraint with our project here. We have a certain amount of time to get all these pump stations done, or we're going to lose our bond. And I'd hate to see it get bogged down to try to get more people up to speed and read the plans and understand what's going on. So, you know, I think you got what you're asking for, you have on the board, and we've hired between Sarah and Thurland.
Okay.
I still have a question. So you guys you don't meet more than once a month generally. I mean, the last month you had meetings. Are you going to do what the other building committee did for this project and meet more than, they met at least twice a month, often 4 times a month to oversee the project? Is that in your plans?
We will have meetings on site once a week to review progress of the project.
Can you tell me why Holzner's bid was 500,000 below what was estimated to be the bid, the correct bid?
Thurland, I'm going to let you take this.
Yeah, I don't know exactly why there. I'm just looking at some of the bid tabulation. We put together a bid tabulation of all the bidders. Their number came in at 2.7 compared to, we've got 2.8, we've got some 2.9s, we've got 3.2, 3.3. So, we have a good range, without, kind of going to them to ask them specifically for their costing information. I can say that between the 7 bidders, we had a really good range, and our estimate came right in the middle of the bid. So our estimate was about 3.2, and we had a range of 2.7 to 3.4. So we were I don't know the answer to that, but I think that all the numbers came in within a reasonable percentage of the estimate.
Hey, Thurland, didn't you have a conversation with them to ask them if they were comfortable with that bid?
I did. There's a couple of key things in the design where we wanted to make sure we wanted to be consistent with some of the pump stations in East Hampton, since it is joint facilities. And so as part of the design, we did specify certain manufacturers that would need to be part of the upgrades. A couple of the vendors, Control Systems was one of them. Flight Pumps was another. I'm trying to think. There's a couple more, but my concern was I want to make sure that they recognize or they acknowledge that, yeah, we want to make sure that they work with these certain vendors or certain manufacturers so that we are consistent with East Hampton. And they did confirm that in writing. One of the big ticket items in these upgrades are the pumps. I mean, that's probably in terms of the cost, these are probably the biggest cost items for the contractor. But they did confirm, yes, they would be providing the flight pumps. And obviously we put down the flight pump model numbers in the design, so they would be required to provide those. So we did circle back with them just to confirm that, yes, they are providing these specific manufacturers and vendors that we required.
Typically, that's the whole idea of the bid process. The same thing happened with the paving project for the school parking lots. We had a bidder come in substantially lower than the other bidders. Had the conversation, make sure they were comfortable. They said yes. They came in, they knocked the project out. Probably didn't make as much money as the rest of them, but they did a good job, and they came in, they still made a few dollars. So I'm thinking that this is gonna fall into the same circumstance. They probably just didn't mark it up quite as much. I can't answer for that. That's the whole point a little bit.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, please.
we've had so much information given to us now. I think we should move the question.
Thank you very much. A question's been moved. Calling for the vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. John?
John Collins, aye, with concerns.
Gail,
Gail Richmond, aye.
Peter,
Peter Casper, aye.
myself, Dan Larson, aye. Motion carries. Thank you. The next motion. Okay. Move that the Hebron Board of Selectmen confirm the award of the proposal for construction phase services to Wright Pierce for Phase 1 of the WPCA Pump Station Phase 1 upgrades in the amount not to exceed $218,400. And this would be for the administration services, the resident project representative, and operational phase services for a total budget not to exceed that $218,400. Andy, did you want to comment on this? You're on mute.
Yeah, it takes me a while to, don't know why that button's sticky. Sorry, I apologize.
Nope, not a problem.
But no, once again, I think it's very important. It is a big job, as John stated. I think Wright Pierce is a reputable company to oversee the project. And then once again, we're having an owner's rep with Sarah to oversee our behalf as well. So I think we've got it covered, but we need to, if we're going to have Wright Pierce, we need to have approval for this contract for them to move forward.
And I'm assuming that this is all well within all the dollar amounts that have been allocated for this project.
Yes, we tried to beat Merlin down a little bit, but he was tough, and we also had environmental partners check the numbers, and they said they were in line, so.
Okay. Discussion?
Does this require a competitive bid? Was it competitively bid?
Thurland, can you help me with this? I don't think it does it?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, no, since we were selected for the RFQ upfront in the facilities plan, it would not need to go out for a competitive bid.
Isn't that a town question?
Well, that's why we're bringing it to you, but keep in mind, John, if we go out to bid on this, a new firm will have to learn the project. Wright Pierce designed the project, which is why we want them to do it. And that's why we brought this to environmental partners to take a look at all the numbers and make sure they were in line. Now, I think in your packet, it includes a letter from environmental partners giving the results of what they looked at.
I'm asking by our town rules, does this require a competitive bid? It's not a consultant question. I'm asking Andy.
I believe we're in line to award this. I do not believe that this has to be a competitive bid, but I could look into that. But I would hope that we could move forward. Then if I'm wrong, I'll quickly let you know.
Well, if we approve it and it's, when we had to go through competitive bid, what do we?
Without having an attorney look at it, it's my professional opinion, we are well within our right to award this to Wright Pierce.
What's the rule in town in terms of what size of project requires competitive bids?
You know, being Zoom, I don't have that in front of me right now. This is, part of the total project, and this is a breakout of the total project that was approved. So, I'm under the impression that this is part of that approval.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I know that there's, I don't know. I'm looking to you, but yeah, I'd like our lawyer to look at that because I'd like to be within the rules of the town.
That's up to the board. I'll do whatever the board wants to do.
Mr. Chairman,
Peter, go ahead.
I see this, excuse me, there's two things. I think, it's good that John's talking about making sure we understand the process and understand how it's structured. I've personally heard enough that there's been enough due diligence to justify moving forward with what's been outlined. And then I see the second issue is trying to understand going forward, but I'm not looking to start over in this process. I think there's been enough due diligence for us to move forward and vote.
Gail?
This is a breakout from the whole total project. So I think all the rules for things going out to competitive bids has been covered. I don't see any reason to hold anything up any longer.
Well, our
Okay,
town manager just said he doesn't know, so I don't know how we would know.
we do have the right to waive policy where it's deemed to be in the best interests of the town. And keeping with the same company that's done the design, do the oversight with another company also doing oversight over them, I think shows our due diligence in the protecting of the taxpayers' money. Would be my take on it.
I'm a stickler for following the rules and the procedures and whatnot, but I consider this a breakout from the whole thing, and I think everything's been covered at this point. And we for sure don't want to, there's a timeline on this project. We need to get moving.
Mr. Chairman, I'll call the question.
Thank you. Okay, a question's been called. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Going down the line, John,
John Collins, aye.
Gail Richmond,
Dale Richmond, aye.
Peter Casper,
Peter Casper, aye.
myself, Dan Larson, aye. Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, people.
Thank you.
So Andy, if you can get the
Thank you.
question answered, it'd be great.
What I'm trying to say without having a lawyer present tonight is because we already hired Wright Pierce to design this project, we already entered into a contract with them. So it's normal practice to hire them to oversee like we do with Fenton. But the threshold is $25,000. So we, in the town charter, but this is because we've already hired Wright Pierce. I feel we've already entered into a contract with them. This is just another phase of overseeing the project. But I'll check with the attorney tomorrow. I can't get you an answer tonight, if that's okay.
When we hired Wright Pierce, did that go through a competitive bid?
I'll refer to Kevin.
Yeah, Wright Pierce was hired under the RFQ process, which was mandated by DEEP to be eligible for clean water funding, which is the process that's used for this type of project.
No, but within the town doesn't go as, I mean, I'm sure they're qualified, but the town goes through a competitive bid process. There are rules for that. Did they follow the rules? Did you follow the rules?
We followed the rules to qualify for DEEP clean water funding, which is the only way you can get funding for a project like this. So what it does is you have all the people come in and compete against each other. So it's a competitive bid process, but it's called an RFQ, request for qualifications, and you interview all the firms. Without that, you can't get the funding for money. And we wanted to follow that. So in somewhere through this project, we can become eligible for more clean water funding. We wanted to make sure that we were staying in line with that process.
It did go through a process.
Great. So
Yeah.
it's just a question, if we can answer the question that the town, that this went through, that everything's copacetic, that would be greatly appreciated.
Okay. I will get to that in writing.
Okay. again, our next thing, the Chatham Health District allocation from the COVID funds.
Okay, this is, I kind of touched on this before. There was a letter in here from Russ Millman, the director of Chatham Health. What, in a nutshell, what he's trying to say is we weren't set up staff-wise, or nobody saw the amount of work that COVID-19 brought to the district. The extra hours of contract tracing, getting back to all the school superintendents, the weekly meetings with the towns and municipalities has really taken a toll on the resources and the funding of the health district in this pandemic. So when this municipal corona relief fund came out to the towns, Russ made a request for help to try to offset some of those costs. And the amount that he came up with was 20%. So to Hebron, that would be $14,018.40. That's of the $70,092. So I would strongly recommend, and we're having another meeting, our regular meeting of the Chatham Health District on Tuesday, but we had a special meeting earlier in this week, and it looks like all the towns are on board. The only thing that a couple of towns may have said is they've already earmarked some of the funding from this actual grant, larger towns that have police forces and stuff, but they would go and try to get a supplemental appropriation to make that 20% match. So we would work that out before we gave the towns money to make sure everybody was going to comply with that. But for time sensitivity, if you guys could approve this tonight, I could have that information for Tuesday's meeting.
Okay.
And this also will be going to the Board of Finance.
Yeah, it's saying of the 70,092. Okay, that was what we had received. I don't know, when I first saw the 20%, I got to admit, I kind of choked up a little bit. They're not getting any money as a health district from the state towards their costs.
They're getting some, but it's not the same as because it's a regional district, they fell through the cracks. If it was a regular district just for the municipality, they were entitled to funding because they could apply as a municipality. They are going to get a grant that's going to help them out, but it's multi-year. You get so much a year. So they had to put so much time and effort in during this. This is a sensitive time frame that this money would, the work had to be done. I don't have the time frame. It was from March to something. I think it's in his letter. But they're looking to recoup some of the costs that wasn't budgeted in this year, if you know what I mean.
Okay. And how does that negatively affect us on our expenses that we, the town, incurred to become COVID-19 compliant, if you will?
Yeah, at this point in time, we compiled a list of the work we did within the ramifications or the time frame that was available, and we don't have $70,000 worth of expenses, so it's not going to hurt us that bad. And I think, what I'm trying to emphasize here to the Board of Selectmen is we really need to help our health district out in the middle of a pandemic. I think it's a legitimate request, and nobody saw this coming in a time that they're looking to recoup. This money has already been spent, and it wasn't budgeted in last year's budget that we approved for the district. So we'll be okay. I checked with Elaine, and this is going to the Board of Finance on the 28th.
Okay.
But you guys met first, so we kind of changed the charter. So I figured I'd get your fingerprints on it because the Chatham Health District meeting's on Tuesday.
Okay, and I apologize. I should have read the motion first. So I'll read the motion. I apologize. Move the Hebron Board of Selectmen approve the Chatham Health District's request for a portion of the funding received from the municipal coronavirus relief fund in the amount of $14,018.40. The Board of Selectmen also extends our sincere thanks to the appreciation for the efforts of the Chatham Health District over the many months of COVID-19 response for the district, town, and residents. So there, I've read the motion now, and opening it up for discussion. Anybody for discussion?
I just want to ask for clarification, Andy. Each of the towns in the district will be doing 20% also, you said, correct?
That's the request. Marlboro's already committed. East Hampton wanted a little bit more information. They now have it. I believe they're going to commit. And then Portland and East Hampton may have their grant monies allotted to something else, but they would then go and ask for a supplemental that would equal a 20% amount.
As long as
So we'll find
everybody,
that out on Tuesday.
okay, everybody has to chip in their 20%, if we're going to do that. And I recognize
Exactly.
all the work that Chatham Health does. We wouldn't want to be undertaking that on us ourselves, so. Okay, I'm all right with it as long as everybody else does it.
Okay, Peter?
Ready to vote.
John, did you have a comment?
Nope. Thank you.
Okay, hearing no other comments. All in favor of the proposed motion, signify by saying aye. Gail?
Aye.
Peter?
Peter Casper, aye.
John?
John Collins, aye.
And myself, aye. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Next would be the amended job description of the part-time fire chief.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it's in there and it's highlighted what the changes were. The chief looked at it and that's what we came back with. It's been in the packet. Hopefully everybody had a chance to review it. But we're looking to get this approved and start that process as well.
Donna, could you go back to the motion, please, and then scroll down through? Thank you. Whoop. A little bit more. Thank you. Move that the Hebron Board of Selectmen approve the amended job description for the part-time fire chief as presented or amended. One of my questions that I had, it was reduced from 9 years down to 6 years of experience. I'd ask why, because I really think in order to be a fire chief, you need the time, I'm just nervous that 6 years is not enough. And then the other thing is there anything in there that talks about the administrative knowledge required?
What you have in front of you is what covers it. I don't have that answer for you. That was something that the chiefs did, went from the specialized training in fire department, graduation from high school, that's there. And then it says administration, 9 years to 6 years of experience in fire and emergency medical services work, 3 years of which must have been preferred certification as a firefighter officer. So we would have to ask that of the chief. He said he's available by text if I ask him a question. I don't think he's on the phone. So Nick, if you're out there, you can answer that question and I'll get back to Chairman Larson. He's saying to expand the application pool.
I just, being involved in the fire department 6 years, you're still very green under the collar. I don't know. I would like to see at least 7 or 8 myself. But I'll leave it up to the body. Anybody else have any questions or comments on the job description?
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
I
please.
just was thinking about the expanding the pool. I guess it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to take someone with less experience, but you might be impressed by somebody that is less experienced, but clearly has demonstrated an outstanding track record in a shorter period of time. So I'm not really uncomfortable with, expanding the pool as long as, we sort of understand that we're hiring the most experienced person we can. So I think it's really just I get the concept of trying to bring some more people in just to see if there's some more folks to look at. So I'm not uncomfortable, but I defer to you. I mean, you have the expertise in it, and I do not, but I'm not against expanding the pool. Just let's see what the decision comes down to in terms of the candidates that get attracted to that job. But I would defer to you. I mean, you're the one with the experience.
Gail or John?
Gail was not concerned until I heard what you had to say, and you have the expertise and the knowledge of what it takes to do that. So you now have me wondering.
Yeah, I defer to you, Dan. I don't know.
Let Andy come back.
It's kind of hard texting and not having Nick
Yeah.
on here. But he's saying how many people you think are going to apply for the job. If that's the deal breaker, then we can leave the 9, but they really wanted to reduce it to 6.
Okay.
I mean, Dan, do you think it makes sense to, move it to 9, and then if we don't get the candidates, then we can always drop it later? I mean, you're more comfortable with that? Because again, like John said, you're the one with the expertise, and Gail said you're the one with the expertise. So, I mean, if you put it at 9 and you get nobody applying, then obviously, you don't get the candidates you're looking for all the time, right? Then you have
Of
to.
course, the other thing is, if you do it at 6, none of the candidates, quote unquote, shine, you do not have to pick from that pool.
Right.
And I suppose going under that aspect,
Pressure's on you, man. You vote first.
Go to 8. Go to 8. Then you're kind of compromising. If
I was thinking of going to 7. At least give them, lucky 7. Give them a little bit more time. The first couple of years, it takes to get firefighter 1, firefighter 2. Then usually the next step would be fire instructor and then fire officer. And, even though a person has a fire officer degree, does not necessarily state how good they are. I mean, education is important. Don't want to deny that, but it's how you utilize that education.
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully the board is comfortable. I'll be doing the final approval of hire along with the blessing of the Board of Selectmen, but done a lot of hiring, and I think we've been pretty successful in a lot of areas, including 2 past fire chiefs. So I hope you have some confidence in.
Yeah. I'd be happy at 7 if everybody is satisfied with that. Gives them a little bit more training. So that would be the amendment. Going down, go John.
Move the motion. Yes. John Collins, aye.
Move that the Hebron Board of Selectmen approve the amended job description for part-time fire chief and I made the amendment to go to the 7 years instead of the 6. But that would be the only change.
John Collins, aye.
That was a yes? I'm sorry.
Yes. John
Okay.
Collins, aye.
Gail?
Gail Richmond, aye.
Peter?
Peter Casper, aye.
And myself, Dale Larson, aye. Next would be the town manager annual evaluation process in that scales area.
Yes, John and I have talked about this a bit in the last couple of weeks. I'm in the process now of reviewing the job description compared to job descriptions in other towns. I really want, what I haven't gotten to is tackling the evaluation forms, but I believe they need to be tightened up. They're too lengthy and cumbersome at this point. So I've got a couple to compare it with. And so I would like to consult with John a little bit more in the next couple of weeks and bring it back to the board on February 4th. And we will need to go into executive session to discuss Andy's contract, which probably is okay the way it is, but it should be reviewed just to be sure. If that's okay with my colleagues.
It's fine with me. Peter or John?
That sounds good to me.
Yeah, good. Absolutely.
Okay. Next would be the draft agenda for the February 4th, 2021 meeting. And again, it's there for our review. If anybody has anything to add, get it into the town staff so that that can get added or posted or what have you. Is there any other new business? Hearing none. Our consent agenda, and the only thing I see that we have this time is the approval of the January 7th, 2021 regular meeting minutes. And I believe that Gail has a number of corrections. I noticed, well, I'm assuming she's got the same ones that I read some of the issues.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I think a few people probably have these. We start out at top, the date was 2021, not 2020 as written there. Staff present, Sharon Gerard should be listed under staff present, not under guest. Board of Finance present would have been David Vesey, and then guest would have been Kathy Williams. If you find anything on page 2, on page 3, down at the bottom, again, the date was wrong. It should be January 21st of 2021. On the last page, where it shows John's motion, we need to have a record of the vote that took place that night. So it's not there. So what I wrote up as a suggestion is a vote was taken and the motion was defeated. John Collins, aye. Gail Richmond, Peter Casper, Mark Rubera, Dan Larson abstained, with Dan Larson then changing his vote to nay. And that's my thoughts on those minutes.
I concur. I don't, anybody else?
No.
Okay, hearing none. Motion to approve the minutes as amended. Peter,
Peter Casper, aye.
Gail,
Gail Richmond, aye.
John,
John Collins, aye.
and myself, Dan Larson, aye. Okay, our liaison reports. We don't have Mark tonight, so Gail?
Okay, at the Board of Ed met last Thursday, the 14th. The superintendent presented his budget, which calls for a 6.4% increase over the current budget. The Shared Services Committee is scheduled to hold its first meeting next Wednesday, January 27th. The Douglas Library, the Board of Trustees met January 11th, and the new board member attended. That's Patricia Ayers that we appointed earlier. The chair spoke of the plan of conservation and development and asked that the board review it and comment as needed. And the chair also noted that it's going to be time to review the strategic plan. Had a busy week last week. Commission on Aging, Senior Center. They met last Wednesday. The staff has completed that zero isolation training that I was telling you about. And they are now working on the Stay Connected, which uses technology to keep isolated seniors connected. And it does include training because it's realized that many of these people do not know training. And the new member, alternate member for the Commission on Aging that was here with us tonight was at that meeting and joined in. So it was, I've had some good meetings in the last 2 weeks. And that's it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Peter?
I will not be able to have that substantive of an update, Gail, so very good for you. As Andy had mentioned, and Dave actually had to leave early from tonight's session, but he had asked me to also reiterate what Andy noted earlier, which was the Board of Finance meeting next Thursday, which is a 6 p.m. start. And the Board of Ed will be represented to do a mid-year review on the budget. So again, encouraging us to attend. And with the Open for Business Task Force, we're working with AHM, which is not really liaison, but I wasn't part of the earlier agenda, so I'm not sure how that. Normally I do an update. So if I may, Mr. Chairman, could I just add one thing?
Sure.
Okay. So we're going to coordinate with AHM to support their health and wellness initiative. I'm doing some videos supporting our local restaurants. So we're going to take a different tack and go at it differently to see what we can do to generate some interest through some video productions. But again, working in concert with the AHM. So we're excited about that new initiative. Parks and Rec, I thought was meeting on the 18th, but my fault if I mentioned that last time, forgetting it was a holiday. So their meeting is not till the 25th, at which point I will then have new information. So that's all I have. Thanks.
Okay. John?
The Hebron Racial Justice and Equity Committee met twice. No, we didn't meet. We didn't meet the first week. Actually, we had to cancel that, but we met yesterday on Tuesday. And we had Steve Weir's been showing up, and who's a citizen, and he got one of his friends that he works in the business to talk about development and how developers make decisions in communities to develop Section 8 affordable housing and other types of housing, because there's been some question in the community whether there's if there's been barriers to that. I got to tell you, like the fire department, I didn't know anything about Section 8 housing or housing. It was really enlightening, and I think we got a lot of good answers that will go into the report. So thank you to Steve Weir, just by the way, it was excellent. We did finish our survey, which will be going out, and we got a lot of good input. Yeah, so it's a MailChimp type survey. It's really mainly, there are questions, multiple choice questions, but a lot of it is to get people's thoughts. So hopefully that's going to be going out any day now, on the Town of Hebron website, hopefully a mass emailing, maybe with the town manager's report or something like that. That would be helpful. But Donna's all over that. She can discuss that. On the land acquisition side, a lot of concern about this forest products or forestry management proposal, and I can see why. And let me just put it out there. I Parks and Rec, I guess, is putting together this RFQ. Frank Zitkus, who is citizen extraordinaire, has provided comments about it. But the main comment is this: we have forests that we've bought in the last 30 years, 40 years in Hebron. And it's been a huge success. And we talked about it last time about how people are going to the parks and they're getting that experience, and it's an economic development driver. I think as a board at some point should talk about what we think the beneficial uses of those forests are. In my career, I did this a lot. Beneficial uses are things like water quality, wildlife diversity, ecology, and then recreation for people. This particular RFQ talks about maximizing forest products, and in my mind, that is not what the land acquisition was about. And it could, I've seen enough forest products, RFQs, and implementation. Like I said to them, I had railroads or large landowners and timber companies, like Weyerhaeuser was a major client of mine. And we have to be very careful about extracting wood from forests, especially when it's really not the point. The second thing that's been brought up is that a lot of these land acquisitions were funded by grants from state grants and other grants that do not allow us to manage the land for profit for good reason. So I'm a little bit worried about a forest management firm leading this, as opposed to, say, an ecologist or a wildlife biologist or somebody like that, a nonprofit. But we'll see what the RFQ comes out, or the RFP comes out. I guess it'll come before the Board of Selectmen, hopefully. But that's been the discussion. I think most of the people on land acquisition, were concerned. So I think it's going to the Conservation Board too. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. That's it.
Okay. Yeah, I'll try to talk to some of them, because I used to, for the state, actually teach wildlife management concepts and principles. And part of it is controlling of the vegetation to enhance the wildlife, the biota, literally the entire wildlife spectrum. And forests that get too tall create no understory, which is what wildlife needs for their homes, for their habitats. And this is why selective cutting is considered the preferred method for enhancing wildlife habitat. But anyway,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
if I could just touch on that, I'm the one that brought this to light. We own a lot. I agree. I'm not disagreeing with John's comments at all, or Frank Zickis's. They're very good comments, and they were submitted to the Parks and Recreation. But I just want to make sure that we are not doing this to harvest for profit. We are doing it just what you stated. We've done nothing to maintain our open space at all. So we felt, along with Frank Zickis's concerns, that we take some action to do exactly what you just said, is to maintain, come up with a plan that is in the best interest to help the forest flourish, not go in there and just reap material and try to, get money for the town. That's never was the intent. As you stated, they have lower growth management, all that stuff to enhance. So this is just working out the kinks. We'll add in what John said, and we take Frank's concerns very seriously, and those will be later this month discussed at the Parks and Recreation. But we're not in any means trying to rush this along. It was the first proposal. We went with a firm that's very environmentally conscious. I think his report shows that. We've had numerous conversations with Brian O'Connell and Frank Zickis, and we're going to continue to do that. So it will come back. The final product will come back in front of the Board of Selectmen. So we're not trying to, rush this along, but I just want to make sure it's not, in no means was it meant to be like a money grab or for profit. There may be some profit that comes out of that. what we would do, or I would propose the selectmen do, is put that money right back into managing those open space areas, and that was always the intent. It was never to try to do anything more than that. So it's a work in progress, and John's right. We do take all those concerns very, very seriously. So I just want to make sure you guys know that.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you. Also, thank you. And I have nothing. The Peters house, they never got it downloaded onto a thumb drive. I was hoping to be able to have pictures of the completed rooms. And it never got dropped off of the town hall. So I will try to get that within the next couple of days into the town hall so that they can get that out to everybody so that you can see what the place looks like. So, okay. Hearing that, our next would be again, public comment. And then if no public comment, we will be moving into executive session. So first off, we'll do public comment. Anything?
There are no public comments.
Thank you. Then hearing that, we have executive session, which would be land acquisition, Raymond property on Mill Stream Road, and we would invite in Andy and anybody else, Andy?
Yeah, let's invite Donna in because she's running the actual.
Okay, and Donna Lanza? So John, did you want to make that motion or do you want me to do it?
Please do it. I don't have it.
Mr. Chair, I would just say action taken after executive session and then read the motion.
Okay, the action taken after the executive session is that the Hebron Board of Selectmen move to accept the 8.5 acre Raymond family parcel located along Mill Stream Road for $16,000.
I would change that word. I would change that word, if I may, from accept to acquire.
Acquire, okay. That the Hebron Board of Selectmen move to acquire the 8.5 acre parcel of the Raymond family parcel located along Mill Stream Road for $16,000.
You could add
Gail?
and refer to a future town meeting for approval.
Ah, okay. Aha. And that this be referred to a future town meeting for town approval. Okay. Gail,
Gail Richmond, aye.
John,
Bill Collins, aye.
Peter,
Peter Casper, aye.
myself, Dan Larson, aye. This is why it's so nice to have them all written out, because you just read them instead of having to try to come out of the top of your head to make something that makes some sort of common sense. Okay. I think at that point, we're up for adjournment.
I love to do that. Gail Richmond is making a motion at 8:41 that we adjourn our meeting.
Okay, now it does say on the agenda, though, we're not getting done until 9, so what do you want to do for 19
Well,
minutes?
anybody who wants to stay around for the next 17 or 18 minutes, are welcome to do that. But I don't think Andy will.
Okay. Good night. Thank you all.
Night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night,
Good night.
everybody.